Greetings, this is Dave with Ham Radio Test and Review. My call sign is N8DAV. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona, and the motto for my channel is one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Today, I'm going to be testing another HT antenna, a dual band, made by, or actually sold by Tidradio. This is the TD-771. Now, this particular antenna looks exactly like the Abri AR771. I believe they're made by the same company. I believe they're exactly the same antenna. But I'm going to test an Abri later on as well. So, because the Tidradio version is much cheaper, and I think it's the same exact antenna. Anyway, I'll get back to you in just a second here with all the specifications. Okay, here is the Tidradio TD-771. This is dual band, and like I said, it looks exactly like the Abri. This little base here looks exactly like the Abri. It's exactly the same length. I mean, to like a millimeter. So I believe that it is exactly the same antenna. It also comes in a very cheap package, just a yellow package. Nice, soft vinyl, but cheap. The antenna itself is a dual band antenna for the 2 meter and the 70 centimeter bands. It's 15 inches long. It's a rubberized whip type antenna with an SMA female at the end. It's specified as having a 50 ohm impedance and an SWR of 1.5 to 1 or less. It's also specified to having a maximum of 10 watts. And there is a gain that's also specified by the manufacturer of 2.15 dBi on 2 meter and 3 dBi on 70 centimeter. Now this is exactly, once again, the same as the Abri AR771 antennas. It's not specified to be any specific wavelength, and it's also not specified as being resonant on any particular band. So I will come back to you in just a minute, and we'll start doing all the SWR testing and field strength meter testing like we always do. Be right back. As you all know, I like to make sure that when I set up my test bed for these antennas, I run a baseline using a signal stick. Now I do this because I know for a fact that the signal stick provides me with 1.02 to 1 or less on the 2 meter band, the 70 centimeter band, and on the GMRS band. And before I started these tests, I verified and set up that baseline and made sure that on the 2 meter band and the 70 centimeter band and GMRS band that I got 1.02 to 1 or less. So our first test this morning is going to be on the 2 meter band using the Tidradio TD-771. We get an SWR of 1.96 to 1 at 8.99 watts. Next test, we're going to do the power SWR meter on the 70 centimeter band. And we come up with 1 to 1, 4.63 watts. And now we're going to test the Tidradio TD-771 antenna on the GMRS band. And we come up with 1.07 at 3.79 watts. All right, here we are with my NanoVNA. As you all know, I always back up every SWR reading I get from the SWR power meter because, you know, we never know what we're absolutely reading in all of these. You know, sometimes these cheap pieces of equipment are accurate and sometimes they're not. So I always try to give you two different ways of measuring the SWR. This one's using the NanoVNA, which I consider a little more accurate, but it's always a higher reading than the power SWR. So here we go. We're going to turn this on. It's going to start off on the 2 meter band. And by the way, I've added something new to the mix now. I've also added in the impedance of the antenna. All right. So here we are. Normally, I would go to the center of the band, but since we tested on the power SWR meter 146.52, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up here to 146.52 and take a reading here. And our SWR is 3.530. And that has an impedance of 40.18. Okay, now we're going to do the 70 centimeter band test. We tested on the power SWR meter at 446. So I'll bring that up to 446 so we can compare apples to apples. That's probably as close as we're going to get. And we have an SWR of 1.173 and an impedance of 45.83. Don't forget, this is supposed to be 50 ohm impedance. Right, now we're going to test on the GMRS. And here we go to the center of the band. At 1.724 at 74 ohms. All right, here we are with the field strength meter. I have set up this test to run at a prescribed distance using a Baofeng UV-17 Pro GPS at full power on a fully charged battery. So we should get very similar results between antennas on every single test. Here we go on the 2 meter band test. Next test is on the 70 centimeter band test. And for all you GMRS heads out there, here's the test on GMRS channel 16. Okay, I'm out here at my favorite park, Fox Glen Park, for testing HT antennas. Now, the distance here is between 2.6 and 3.0 miles, depending upon what app I'm using. They're all a little bit different. I'm out here in the children's area. I try to stay as far away from the children's area as possible so we don't get a lot of the screaming and yelling. But I try to also avoid as many obstacles as I can to kind of give the antennas a little bit of an advantage if I can. But so I'm up a little bit higher than I normally am. I'll try to show you a little bit also where I am before we get started on these tests. Here's the park, which I've been doing all my testing of antennas. That is Mount Eldon right there. My house with the base antenna is at the base of Mount Eldon. So you can see it's mostly just forest. That is the obstacle in the way. And just kind of show you a little bit more of the park. Little playground action, baseball fields. So this is where I'm at. You can see it's a beautiful, lovely day. It's 81 degrees out. And again, Mount Eldon. And we'll be right back. So here, I'm out here and I've got the UV-17 Pro GPS. I've got it set up with full battery and with the Tidradio TD-771 antenna. And so let's try doing a test right now. This is WSBX 662, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is WSBX 662, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so as you heard, the radio was able to get out to my repeater that's set up on my base station antenna, and it had some static going in, and it had some static coming back. So it was having a bit of a hard time getting in. It's pretty obvious. That's why I picked this spot out here. There's not a lot of obstructions, but there are some. So we have to deal with that as best I can. Anyway, not bad. I mean, you can hear me, you can understand me completely. So I would say that this was a fair to good test. And so what I'm going to do is next time you see me, I'm going to be back in my shack and we'll go over all the test results and I'll give you my opinion on this antenna. And I'll be right back. So what did we learn from all the testing that we did today? Well, first of all, let me just show you the two antennas side by side. This is an ABRI AR771 and the Tidradio TD-771. The bases look exactly the same. The antennas look exactly the same. However, I just noticed that the difference in length is maybe 1/4 of an inch. Now, I do know that the ABRI antennas also vary by 1/4 of an inch. So kind of hard to say, but they sure do look like exactly the same antenna. I could be wrong. So what did we learn from all of this today? Well, I've got all my information right here. And so this is what we've got. On the power SWR readings on 2 meter, we got 1.96. On 70 centimeter, we got 1.00. And on GMRS, we got 1.07. So those are all very, very good. Based on just that, I would say this is probably going to be a decent antenna. However, with the NanoVNA, I got some vastly different results. Now, normally I get some fairly close results, but in this particular case, I didn't get the close results on the 2 meter band. Now, on the 70 centimeter, I got really close results. And on the GMRS, I got not so great results. So, still good, but the 2 meter was very high. 2 meter on the NanoVNA was 3.5. And that's just way too high. Considering that the 2 meter on the power SWR meter was 1.96, so almost 2. That's a huge difference. I can't explain it, but I would trust the NanoVNA a little bit more than I would the power SWR meter. Now that was at the 2 meter calling frequency. On the 7 meter calling frequency, I got 1-to-1, which is absolutely perfect. But on the NanoVNA, I got 1.17, which is very close. I would say that's really the NanoVNA backed up the power SWR meter results. And then on the GMRS band, I got 1.07, but on the NanoVNA, I got 1.7. So it's a little farther than I'd like to see difference between the two. Normally, if I get a 0.5 or less from the NanoVNA to the power SWR meter, I call it a draw. But the NanoVNA meter was just a little bit higher than I'd like to see. But still, all very acceptable. If you want to trust those power SWR meters, which I do for the most part, you'll see the SWR came in good all the way across. All right, so what's the next thing that we did? We did the field strength meter tests. The field strength meter test came in terrific, much higher than the previous antenna that I tested, which was, let's see, which of the HYS 771N antenna. So probably a very similar antenna, but not exactly the same. Anyway, that performed much better than the HYS Heiss antenna did. So I've got 2 meter was a plus 1.3, 70 centimeter was a plus 2.4, and GMRS was a plus 2.1. Now, all these numbers actually correlate very closely with the numbers that I got with the power SWR meter. So, I'm kind of feeling that the NanoVNA might have given me an error reading on the 2 meter band. Now, how did the actual real world test go down at Fox Glen Park, 2.6 to 3.0 miles? I would say it came with some static, you heard it. And I would say that's a fair to good report that I got. I got about the same with the HYS, maybe a little bit more static on the HYS antenna, but still very, very close. So I'm suspecting that all these 771 antennas are all probably going to do pretty close to the same, with maybe the exception of the Abri and the Nagoya maybe doing slightly better, but I can't see them doing much any better. Here's the kicker of all of this, and this is why I say to you, you got to look at everything, and one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. The price that I paid for the Tidradio TD-771 antenna, $3.99. The closest antenna to it was the HYS at $11.99, and the Abri is either $11.99 or $12.99. So you could get 3 antennas for the price of 1 Abri. That's just crazy. The price of 1 HYS antenna. That's just crazy. Do they perform similarly? Yes. Is the price difference really worth paying the extra, what is it, $7 or whatever for the HYS antenna, or $8 for the Abri? No. No. I mean, unless you really are operating at the very far end of the ability of those antennas, you won't notice any difference. So this is a bargain. It's a real bargain. Now, they do charge, I do believe, $7 the last time I bought something from Tidradio for shipping. They did not charge me tax, but they did charge me $7 for shipping. So stock up on all the different accessories they've got. Keep an eye out on all the different prices. They've got the Bluetooth push-to-talk button. Sometimes that's only $4. The Bluetooth programmer, sometimes it's only $4. They vary the price every week, so just keep an eye on it. You can stock up on all those things, plus you can try the tri-band antenna and some of the other antennas they've got there. They're all very cheap. They sell their accessories extremely cheap. So stock up on all of them. They charge you the $7, maybe it was $8 for shipping. It takes a little while to get everything from China, but I have to tell you, I've never had a problem with anything I bought from Tidradio. So anyway, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. And but now you know what all the testing results are. And so you now know that I think that this is a real bargain, and it's definitely worth taking a look at. All right. So my name is Dave. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. My call sign, N8DAV, with my name in my call sign. And I'm saying one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions, 73s, and so long.